Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Anneshia Freeman on the line, and she's president and CEO over at Anneshia Freeman and Associates Consulting Services. Anneshia, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me on, Adam.
So I'm excited to get more into what you're doing over at Anneshia Freeman and Associates Consulting Services and how you're helping your clients. But before we do that, let's get a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career?
Well, when I initially went to school, began my college education, I was 36 years old. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and what that means is I have not used any drugs or alcohol in over 19 and a half years. So I went to the starting field at age 36 when I entered the recovery process. I went to school for computer applications technology. So my initial desire was to work with inanimate objects. I did not want to work with people. But when I started at my first job, I was the assistant to George Hartwell. He was the mayor of Grand Rapids at the time, and he ran the Community Leadership Institute. So I started as an administrative assistant. Now, the Institute incubated programs until they were ready to launch out on their own. So drug court, 61st District Court heard about this woman who was in recovery, had a degree, was working for the mayor, but used to be out on the street. So they said, well, can you come down and work with some of the women that we keep arresting over and over again and just talk to them once a week and try to help them get out, give them some encouragement. So I started doing that once a week in addition to my work with the mayor, and I started working on my bachelor's in business. And I started finding out that I was really connecting with these people, with these women, and the court saw that I was connecting too. And I had been doing some research trying to fix my belief system. I had been researching neurology, psychology, and creating tools to help me with my thought process. So I accidentally created a program to help people. So that's how it started. Like, I didn't choose the human service industry. It chose me. And eventually I started using some of the tools I created for myself with the women that the court was sending me to work with. And I eventually got a contract with 61st District Court, and I had that contract from 2004 to 2015.
Wow, what an amazing story of triumph. I love it. And I love how you said that it chose you. And it's very apparent. I love it. And it's kind of funny because you said you started out wanting to work with inanimate objects, and look what happened. You got sucked in. I love it, though. It means you do great work. So we're going to get more into what you do in your practice shortly. But before we do that, there's some younger entrepreneurs and or individuals that are just getting started in their career. Maybe they just getting out of college, or maybe they didn't go to college and they're going right in the workforce. Now, you had a calling, you had something that, as you said, chose you, but you were still able to change that idea, change that passion that you had into a business and able to move it forward. That being said, what kind of advice would you give to the new entrepreneurs out there that are maybe just getting started in business?
Well, first of all, I would say strap yourself in. You're getting ready to go on a roller coaster ride. And one thing I would also like to say is that you don't have to worry if you're going to make the right choice as it relates to a particular path. Because when I began working as a counselor in that field, my first degree was in computer applications technology. My second degree was in business. It took a while before I actually obtained the credentials to work in the human service industry. But every single experience I had, every single educational endeavor that I undertook, they all played a role in my journey. And so a lot of times when people are going out, especially they first graduate college. They have this ideal sometimes that I'm going to do this, and in 5 years I'll be here, and in 5 years I'll be there, and then something happens and they find themselves on a totally different path. But that's okay. Like all of your experiences are going to play a role in helping you get to the place that you eventually want to go.
That's awesome. I love it. Let's switch it up a bit, Anneshia. I want to get into what you're doing over at Anneshia Freeman and Associates Consulting Services. So first, tell us a little bit more about the business, please.
Okay, well, it's the consulting services that help people, organizations, and companies address cause and effect simultaneously. So that program that I created, everything I do is under the umbrella of cognitive restructuring, which is just a fancy term for I help people change the way they've been programmed to think. But I specialize in helping people understand their unconscious belief system. It's hard to fight an invisible enemy. And that's what we do. That's what I do, and that's what my associates do. We help people who are making bad decisions, and some of these people may have issues like drug addiction or criminal background, but a lot of the people that I work with are professionals that just are maybe dysfunctional in one particular area of their lives, but they're very gifted and very talented. So at my company, I consult. So sometimes I'm consulting with an individual as a life coach or a career coach or a counselor or a therapist, but I also work with organizations. For example, Michigan Youth Challenge Academy brought me in and consulted with me for 4 years. And that's how I manualized my youth program, was consulting with them and helping them. They work with teenagers between the ages of 16 and 18 who are at risk. And so I brought in my tools to help the youth understand these are your unconscious beliefs that are getting you in trouble, and here's a way to change the way you've been programmed to think. Another example is the Community Economic Development Association of Michigan consulted with me off and on for years, and they would bring me in to do 3-hour workshops, 10-hour workshops. My main focus was a training entitled My Unaddressed Issues Make My Budget and My Schedule. So my role was to help these organizations that do financial literacy, ICCF, they build homes for low-income people, but they had a lot of people in these programs who were getting all of these awesome resources, but they still were messing up their money, or their schedule was so chaotic, they couldn't find time to come to the classes that were going to help them get a home built from the ground up. So I had to teach the people who work with them that these people already have a budget. So say a person has an unconscious belief system, you have to assume the responsibilities of others. Or they have an unconscious belief that says you have to compensate for your presence with goods and services. Those beliefs make a demand on their budget. Those beliefs make a demand on their time. So even though you're trying to help them learn how to budget and learn financial literacy, you have to help them unlearn what this dysfunctional belief system has told them that they need to do with their money and their time. So that's the type of consulting that I do. I work with individuals, I work with companies, I work with organizations. They bring me in and they say, here's some dysfunction that we're seeing in our staff. These are some issues that we're seeing with the people that we're trying to help. Can you give us some tools that we can help our staff or we can help the people we serve so that that our role will be more beneficial? We have things in place, but we're not having the impact that we want because we don't understand how to address this problem. So that's basically what I do.
That's awesome. I understand you do some speaking also, and you have an event coming up. Tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Yes, I'm very excited to be a part of the Leadership Experience Tour 2020. I will be on the stage May the 2nd with 11 other dynamic speakers. My topic is the non-negotiable goal. I'm going to talk about what happens when you add the non-negotiable criterion to your goal. So it must happen. This goal is non-negotiable. It has to happen. So I'll be giving people 3 principles that happens when you add, 3 things that happen when you add the non-negotiable criteria to a goal and how it can help you accomplish the goal.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Anneshia, if somebody wants more information about connecting with you and your business and also to follow up about the event, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
They can contact me via my website. My website is Anneshia.consulting.com, and I will spell Anneshia. Anneshia is spelled ANNESHIA. Anneshia.consulting.com.
That's awesome. Well, Anneshia, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work you're doing for your consulting group and also your clients, and congrats on the speaking engagement coming up. So appreciate you coming on here and sharing all that with us. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, do all those great things we do to support our podcast, or share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues. And Anneshia, thanks again for coming on.